Before we get into the meat of today's new moon and Libra reading, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about Everclear. So you know that I love doing these readings, but I do not do them all the time. So if you want access anytime to guidance and astrological readings, I highly recommend checking out the astrologers on Everclear. They are able to actually match you on their website with an advisor suited to your own unique specific needs. So you'll actually get guidance that is truly personalized for your own life experience. I highly recommend using them whenever you feel that you need some extra guidance around these crazy astrological transits that we go through every month. They actually have an app as well. If you don't have access to a computer, you can just pop them up on your phone and get guidance right then and there. So again, be sure you check out Everclear in the description down below. Hola my beautiful lotus flowers, welcome back or welcome to my channel. If you're into nerdy now on everything astrology, spirituality, and self-transformation, this is the community for you. Today is all about the new moon in Libra on October 14th, 2023. After the full moon in Aries really put a wildfire through stuff and maybe helped you guys clear out a lot of unnecessary junk in your life, this new moon is really going to play off of that full moon heavily, and you'll see what I mean. You'll see what I mean as we get into the meat of the reading. But as you can see, I also did a little tarot pull to go along and supplement this reading, so be sure you stay tuned to the end to watch that. I'll be referencing these notes as we speak, so if you see me looking at something, that's what I'm looking at. I have to reference my notes or else I'll ramble needlessly, like I'm doing right now. But as you know, we have a new moon in Libra, but not only is it a new moon, it's a solar eclipse. So all of the energy I'm talking about today is magnified tenfold because it's a solar eclipse. So just keep that in mind. This is not to scare you. Everything I tell you in this video is to help you, okay? Okay. So if you're not familiar with the moon cycles in general, the full moon is a time of release, whereas the new moon is a time of setting intention. Ultimately, around new moons, we're really looking to reevaluate and see where we need to pivot or alter what we're doing. We need to kind of look at what's not working. Essentially, you shed all the extra things during the full moon. Then during the new moon, now that you have that weight shed, you reevaluate and you replan. The biggest themes around this new moon in particular are communication and partnerships, and it is crazy because the tarot cards I pulled are directly correlated with communication and partnerships. In fact, I pulled a reverse Six of Pentacles, and as you see in this card, he's holding a scale. Literally, he's holding the symbol of Libra. I need to say no more. I need to say no more. I don't know. This emphasis on communication and relationships is going to be pushing you to see where you need to maybe have tough conversations with some of the people in your life. There's a big theme around who in your life is holding you back, who in your life is actually pushing you forward. Have you been neglecting a relationship? Have you been overcommitting to a relationship that maybe is not very beneficial to you? Have you been giving too much of yourself to others and not enough to your own life? This is the time to really have the tough conversations with people who are worth having those conversations with. This is also a time to really band together with community. So if you've been neglecting relationships and you've been very on your own and everything, this can definitely be a time where the relationships that are working and the ones that aren't working are heavily highlighted and need to be, again, reevaluated. What do you need to do with those relationships that maybe aren't in your best interest anymore? And how can you better improve those relationships that are in your best interest that you may have been neglecting? This energy around this new moon is very much a community-oriented energy. It's kind of bringing back to us the importance of community. In this world, we have really forgotten community. We're very individualistic, at least in our society. In the American society, I'm sure not every society is like that. I'm just speaking from an American's point of view, but we become very individual. A lot of things are dependent upon the individual. We can generate our own income via the internet, etc., things like that. Around this new moon, you may be feeling more inclined to nurture certain relationships or let go of certain relationships. Depending on what you've had going on in your life, you may be on one end of the spectrum or the other. You may be in a place where you're developing and moving forward with important relationships, or you're letting go of and releasing unimportant relationships. At this time, we have Mercury in conjunction with the Sun and the Moon in Libra. So Mercury is the planet of communication and the mental process. So you may, one, be very in your head at this time because Libra is also an air sign. So we have very dominant air energy here. A lot of the air signs tend to overthink in their own ways. Libra is no exception. Libra can definitely overthink. That's why they're stereotyped as so indecisive. But with Mercury being conjunct the Sun and the Moon in Libra, meaning all three of these celestial bodies are in Libra, we have an even bigger emphasis on communicating with others, but not just communicating with others, communicating with ourselves. When we think of communication, we tend to always touch on communication with others. But what about yourself? Have you been honest with yourself? What tough conversations do you possibly need to have with yourself at this time? This is going to be a big theme. Journaling could be extremely beneficial for everybody at this time because it allows you to get those thoughts out on paper. It allows you to channel some of those emotions because, again, the moon, I know I'm talking a lot about the mind, but the moon is all emotion. Every time we have significant moon phase going on, we're going to be talking about the emotions. Everything that you feel you need to take care of during this new moon is stemming from your emotional state, what your emotions are telling you, having that connection to your gut instinct and your emotional feelings and what they might be trying to let you know. This is not the time to be dishonest with yourself or dismissive of certain thoughts or feelings that you're having. This is absolutely the time to really tune in and listen to your own mind and your own heart. As a supplemental transit that is very powerful at the time of this new moon, we have Mars trine Saturn. So Mars is the physical planet of ambition and assertion, whereas Saturn is a very disciplinary, fatherly, parental planet. So when you have these two in a trine, which is a more harmonious aspect, we actually see maybe a push of encouragement to do all of the things that I mentioned. These two planets are working to encourage you to take the necessary action in your life that you've been putting off, to again have those conversations or to do the inner work that you need to do, to have the conversations with yourself that you need to have. Mars can be a very fast-moving, aggressive planet, but Saturn is the complete opposite, very slow-moving and all about patience, discipline, and the long haul. So Saturn, being the more powerful planet between the two, is influencing Mars here. So we have the fire of Mars sparking inspiration and encouragement in us. So we may feel that spark at this time, but Saturn is reminding us to, yes, channel that spark, but channel it into patience and self-discipline. So be patient with the process of what you're going through. For example, say you're like,
okay, yeah, Marisa was right. I'm going to have that conversation with that person.
But it doesn't go the way you thought it might go. And you feel discouraged because you're like, well, I did the thing. How come I'm not getting the outcome I wanted? It's all about the long haul. Things are always about the long term. You can't always see the true outcome of your actions. A lot of times we find out much later what the true outcome of our actions was. So Saturn is reminding you that patience and self-discipline will get you where you need to be. Let's talk about this tarot reading, because with everything I just told you, this tarot reading was fascinating. Like, I got so excited pulling these cards because I was like, what? This is spot on. I pulled the Six of Pentacles reversed, I pulled the Five of Wands upright, and I pulled the Eight of Swords upright. I'm going to move the cards and place them in, I'm gonna move the cards and place them in front of me so I can actually see them as I talk about them, because that does help me. Even though I have my handy dandy little notes. But basically we have the Six of Pentacles reversed is the first card that I pulled. And when this card is reversed, it's bringing us a huge theme of self-care. So as you can see in the card, there is a man who looks like he's a nobleman of some sort. He has wealth and he has plenty of it to give others, and he's giving those in need his wealth. But when it's reversed, it's telling us that maybe we have been giving too much of ourselves, an unhealthy amount of ourselves to other people, without giving ourselves that same amount of love and care that we've given others. And again, like I mentioned earlier, he's holding the scale in his hand, which represents balance and harmony, which is the symbol for Libra. This is Libra's symbol in the card, which is fascinating. But Libra can definitely be, one of their shadow sides can be overly people-pleasing. They can struggle with the ability to overcome people-pleasing, to do what's right for themselves and to do what's best for themselves. So this is a huge theme with this new moon. What do you need to do that's best for yourself? And where have you potentially been over-giving or over-exerting yourself for others? And who are those people who have been openly accepting all that you give and giving nothing else in return? Adding on to that, we pulled the Five of Wands. So as you can see, this is definitely a very conflict-oriented card. At the time of this new moon, you may be facing some conflict, but I want to bring in the other card because these cards really play off of each other. After the Five of Wands, I pulled the Eight of Swords. And as you can see, this is another card that has some tension to it. These are both tension cards, but in this one, it's self-inflicted, whereas this one shows others. So the way that I'm reading these cards is that you may have been giving too much of yourself, overexerting yourself in some way, and you need to give yourself love and grace the same way you've been giving others love and grace. But there may be some conflict with others. There may be conflict that arises because maybe some of the conversations you've been having. Maybe you tried to bring up some of the struggles you've been having with somebody and it damages the relationship. Or maybe you're blaming others too much. Maybe you're blaming others too much for your self-inflicted pain and struggles. Maybe you're blaming others, like you're angry that everyone's been taking from you and doing this and that to you, but it's partially your fault. You're partially to blame. You're as much a part of that conflict as they are. You play a role in it as well. And that's where the Eight of Swords comes in. Where have you been having negative self-thoughts or negative self-talk or inflicting emotional pain upon yourself because of the thoughts that you have towards yourself? This goes back to my point of having that avenue of communication with yourself, not just communicating with others, because it's not always about other people. A lot of times, everything, the roots of all of our problems and everything often stems from ourselves in some way. I'm not saying we're 100% to blame for everything that happens to us, but we play a role in a lot of things, if not everything. And that's important to recognize. So whereas you may be pressed to create conflict and get angry or upset with those people that you feel have been doing you wrong, what is the negative self-talk within you that makes you allow people to treat you that way, or has pushed you to allow people to breach your boundaries? What is it within you that you don't like about yourself, or that maybe you're not confident about or insecure about, that makes you feel that you need to overexert yourself for others? Why do you feel the need to people please? Another message that I pulled through from these cards is that conflict is not always bad either. And if you do decide to have conversations with others and there maybe is some tension in some way, you can't automatically assume that other people's perspectives or opinions are wrong. So be open. Again, that open communication theme here, reevaluation, resetting, all of that plays into the theme of being open to new perspectives as well. When you open yourself up to communication, whether it's communication with yourself, whether it's communication with others, you have to go into it with an open heart and open mind and be willing to hear new perspectives and new opinions, or else what's the point? We'll never learn. I truly hope you enjoyed today's reading. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos like this one. And it lets me know that you enjoyed this and you want me to do more in the future. And again, don't forget to check out everclear.com. The link is in the description below if you're interested in getting astrological guidance anytime that you want, not just when I release a reading. But until I see you all next time, I cannot thank you enough for your presence. Every single one of you matters, every single one of you counts, and I appreciate all of you equally. But until the next video is released, go back and watch these ones if you haven't already, because they'll all help you on your own journey. Till I see you next time, adios.